AOC wasn't ready for this one.
Do you think other Democrats are watching their words?
I think it's certainly possible.
Some Republican, or many perhaps, will be watching this. You are the guys who are weaponizing the Justice Department. How would you respond to somebody who may be thinking that?
In what way?
During an interview with NPR, Alexandria was making up stuff on the go, but the reporter stayed fair and kept pushing back, putting her on the spot the entire time. That's why today's video is not to be missed. By the way, we just launched this channel, so if you enjoy content that cuts through the noise, hit that subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
I'm interested if you or your fellow Democrats are at all feeling intimidated or silenced or anything.
I'm not. I think it's important to call this administration's bluff. I think that this is what authoritarians do. I think this is what kleptocracies do. But we will only find out if we call their bluff.
Do you think other Democrats are watching their words?
I think it's certainly possible, but I'm not sure. I mean, I cannot think of or point to any individuals who have said that. I do think that there are Democratic members of Congress who are preparing for that possibility.
How do they prepare?
I think they look to the possibility of litigation. I think they're saying, you know, do we have the best teams possible in order to carry out our work.
It's been 14 months since Trump returned to office, and despite all the talk about him putting his political opponents in camps or democracy collapsing, things are still running as usual. You still have open debate, active media coverage, and no sweeping restrictions on speech from the administration. Even with constant outrage from late-night hosts and celebrities, none of those predictions have actually played out. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Colbert trying to frame himself as a victim of censorship, but the reality is CBS made a business decision because of his low ratings and is moving to more profitable programming. That's why the reporter took the opportunity to remind AOC of the Biden administration's DOJ moves against conservatives. And that's when things started going off track for her.
Some Republican, or many perhaps, will be watching this, listening to this, and thinking, wait a minute, actually, you're the ones who are prosecuting us. You are the guys who are weaponizing the Justice Department. How would you respond to somebody who may be thinking that?
In what way? In what way? Is the very presence
Putting Trump on trial would be their example, I suppose.
Yes. I mean, here's the deal. In the United States, there is a jury where we are judged by our peers, and he was found guilty in court on 34 felony charges. If people want to say it was weaponized, I mean, it is hard-pressed to say that there's a partisan argument for that.
Okay, let's do a quick recent history recap, just to refresh Alexandria's memory. There was an investigation called Arctic Frost, which later became the basis for Jack Smith's work. During that process, not only did Smith surveil top GOP lawmakers, but he also went after private individuals and organizations just because they happen to be conservative. And how was that carried out? By leaning on a technicality that put gag orders on subpoenas, which kept those from being investigated from even knowing it was happening. I think that's a fair example of weaponization. And if we're talking about Trump's cases, specifically the one in which he was convicted of 34 felonies, Professor Gregory Germain from Syracuse University wrote a detailed piece on it, arguing that there should have been misdemeanors and that the statute of limitations had already expired. So the weaponization evidence is overwhelming once we start digging. From there, the interview shifted towards immigration and the Democrats facing backlash because of it. So let's take a look at how AOC handled it.
To what extent is immigration as an issue part of your problem with working class voters?
I mean, I guess my question would be, what does the word problem mean?
People voting for the other side and not for you.
Yeah.
Feeling that Democrats are not serious about the issue in ways that concern them.
I think that we have a problem on immigration because of the lack of progress that we've had on this issue. And As we know, Republicans weaponized that lack of progress. Of course, there was famously a bipartisan bill last year that the Republican majority in the Senate and also in the House were willing to pass. President Biden was willing to work with them on it. And Donald Trump said, do not solve this problem. As long as it is broken, then it will be politically beneficial for us. And so it is a problem not just for Democrats. It's a problem for the entire country that Republicans do not want to solve.
They do want to address undocumented people by removing them. I mean, that's what the president is attempting now.
You could sense the interviewer was starting to lose patience with AOC's mental gymnastics here. Not only were her claims off, but she was also trying to rewrite how events actually unfolded. The bipartisan immigration bill every Democrat talks about now was actually terrible. On top of that, it only came together after they realized illegal immigration was turning into a key campaign issue. So they had to do something to show voters that they were taking steps towards fixing it. Keep in mind, this bill magically appeared after 3 years of open borders under the Biden administration. And when it failed to pass in Congress, the former president turned around and signed an executive order that does the same thing. Plus, when Trump returned to office, he shut down the border without passing a new law. It's definitely something worth thinking about.
Why do you think this issue did seem to be a political loser for Democrats among key groups and key constituencies, if what you say is true?
I think that a lack of a path to citizenship in the United States, the lack of addressing comprehensive immigration reform creates a large population of undocumented people in the United States. And that is allowed to be weaponized in many ways. We have a large population of undocumented people in the United States. Overwhelmingly, it is not because they crossed the southern border of the United States. It's because they came here in a documented fashion and overstayed a visa and became undocumented. And it is the lack of ability for us to expand paths to citizenship.
And you have voters in places like Arizona, which is a swing state that Democrats lost, or Colorado, which is generally a blue state, saying there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of lawlessness.
Yes.
I don't know what to do here. Who's looking out after me?
I agree. The immigration system needs serious reform. But other than that, AOC got a lot of things wrong. By the end of Biden's presidency, the number of people who crossed the border illegally surpassed those who overstayed their visas. And no, that doesn't simply mean that they're undocumented, because using such terminology would make you think that they just lost their ID, or maybe their dog ate it, when in reality, it involves breaking immigration law. But that's the progressive mindset for you. Even when the facts are clear before their eyes, they still choose ideology over common sense, which makes it harder to have an honest conversation about what's actually happening and what needs to be fixed.